and welcome back to the Fatfish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave, and today I'm following up a query that I was sent in response to a video that I did where I reviewed the Boss FS6 dual foot switch. Now, when I talked about that switch, I mentioned that you can use a TRS cable to hook the foot switch into your amplifier, and somebody said, what exactly is TRS? And could I talk a bit about TRS cables and where you would use them and what they're for? So I thought what I'll do in this video is just a general sort of discussion about the different types of cable you can come across with for your guitar and equipment, and hooking amplifiers to speakers and things like that. So let's start off just talking about your regular guitar cable. The thing plugs into your guitar, and then the other end goes into either a pedal or into your amplifier, or the sort of short cable that you get between pedals, like a patch cable. Talk about how this is actually made. So let's have a close look at what's actually inside this cable. Okay, so here's a piece of cable, just a spare piece that I had. I've split it open, and what you should be able to see inside is we've got this. It's like a mesh, and basically this screens the inside part of the cable. Then inside the cable, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick this up, but you've got another layer of insulation here, and then a piece of copper wire in the middle, which is like the kind of the conductor part, the main conductor in the middle, and then this sleeve here. Okay, and this is the sort of plug that you would recognise on the end of one of those cables. Let's just unscrew this and take a look at what's inside of it. Okay, so here's the plug part of the cable. And let's take a look at what we've got. So we've got two connectors at the end. This one here is part of this main body of the plug, and then the smaller one goes to a piece in the middle that comes out to this piece at the end on the tip. And this little black stripe here is actually an insulator. It's just keep the tip part and the sleeve part separate. So the core part of the cable is attached to one connector, and the sleeve part is connected to the other, just with a blob of solder, and then that gives you your jack plug. So then you've got your jack socket like you have on the guitar or in the amplifier or inside your effects pedals. And you plug your cable into it. See, as the tip part connects onto this piece here, which is then connected to a wire on this terminal, and then the main part, the sleeve part here, is in contact with this part of the jack, which then has a cable connected to that connector there. So that's what you've got inside of the guitar. Okay, so that's a regular guitar cable or instrument cable, and you might sometimes hear that referred to as a mono cable. Basically, it's capable of carrying a mono sound source as opposed to stereo. So that leads me on to the next type of cable I want to talk about, which is the TRS. So this is a TRS cable, and at first sight it looks pretty much like a regular instrument cable until you take a look at the plug on the end of it. Okay, so here's the TRS cable, and at first glance it looks very similar to a guitar or an instrument cable. You put the two side by side, yeah, same size and everything. But if you notice, the instrument cable so has the tip and the sleeve part here. The TRS has these two bands. You've got two insulators because you've got the tip, the ring, and the sleeve, because there's actually an extra piece of wire inside of this cable. So one part is connected to the tip, another part is connected to the ring part here, and another part is connected to the sleeve, as opposed to the regular guitar cable where it's just the tip and the sleeve. Okay, so because this cable's got an extra conductor in it, it can carry a little bit more, and that's why it's sometimes referred to as a stereo cable, because you've got with the tip, ring and the sleeve, you've got a left, right and a common ground. So if you want a really good example of a TRS type of connector, think about the plug on the end of the headphones that you plug into your smartphone or your MP3 player to listen to music. It works in stereo. It's got a TRS connector on it. In terms of where we use TRS cables in music, and like for instruments specifically, the example I mentioned was foot switches for amplifiers. The case where we'll have a dual foot switch. So there's two things that switch can do, whether it's a channel select or a boost on pedal A, pedal B, like it was on that FS6 that I demoed. There's two distinct things that the switch needs to be able to tell the amplifier. So in that case it uses a TRS connector. So you could think of one switch as being analogous like to the left channel, and the other switch as being analogous to the right channel. So to do that you need a 3-core cable. You use the TRS. If it's a single foot switch, you could just get away with using a mono cable like you would use for your guitar, because there's only one thing to be signalled. Something to bear in mind is compatibility between between like a mono regular instrument cable and a TRS cable. You can't use a regular instrument cable for an application that demands TRS, because the ring and the sleeve are going to be on the same part of the plug on the regular instrument cable, and basically will short out and it won't work properly. What you can do though is you can get away with using a TRS cable in place of an instrument cable. So this is a useful little hack to have. If you ever turn up at a gig and your instrument cable is broken, or you've got a problem with an instrument cable, but you do have a foot switch with a TRS connector on it, you can get away with using the TRS connector into your amplifier, into your guitar, whatever. And basically the middle conductor, the ring part of the TRS just doesn't get used. And lastly, I want to mention speaker cables and the difference between speaker cables and instrument cables, because on the face of it they look the same, but they're not, and there's a big difference, and if you use the wrong type of cable you could get yourself into trouble. The sort of application that you use for an instrument cable is it's very low voltage, very low power, and basically you've got that core and the sleeve that are just soldered onto the connectors on the plug. They work fine. Speaker cables, on the other hand, this is the sort of cable that you use to connect an amplifier into a speaker cabinet. They work at much higher power. This is the signals coming out of the power amplifier, so this could be like 100 watts of music power coming out of the amp and down the cable. An instrument cable and a speaker cable look pretty similar. On the face of it, they've got a regular 2 conductor plug at the end, so a speaker cable looks like a guitar cable, but a speaker cable has got a heavier gauge cable inside of it, and the connector between the cable and the plug, it's more than just a little dub of solder. It's a very structurally sound, very strong connection, because it's got to be able to take that kind of power that you're going to be putting down a speaker cable. If you just use a regular guitar cable for that, or like a effects pedal patch cable, something like that, the cable's not really up to it, and you run the risk that if you run your amplifier really loud just through a guitar cable connecting the amplifier to the speaker, the connection between the cable and the plug is going to degrade, and eventually it's going to break. And when that happens, it can damage your amplifier, particularly if you've got a high power, if you've got a valve amplifier especially. If that suddenly is not connected to a speaker, it can severely damage the inside of the amplifier, and depending on the type of amplifier you've got, it could be beyond economical repair. So you must never ever run an amplifier without a speaker connected to it, otherwise you will cause it some damage. Now, because speaker cables and instrument cables look the same, people tend to think they're interchangeable. Like I say, they're not. Worryingly, some of the people who think that the two types of cable are interchangeable work in guitar shops. I remember going into a guitar shop one time, and I needed speaker cables, but I just kind of had a blank moment, and I said, I just need a cable to patch an amp to a speaker. And because I'd used the word patch, the guy behind the counter was saying, hang on, do you mean a patch cable or do you mean a speaker cable, because the two things are different? So he kind of picked up on what I'd said. Another time I went to a guitar store and I specifically wanted a speaker cable. I said, do you have a 3-meter speaker cable? And he said, don't think we have, but I've got a 3-meter guitar cable, that will do the job. And it patently won't. So beware that the people working in guitar stores don't always know the difference. Be aware if you do use an instrument cable to connect your amplifier to your speakers, you could be setting yourself up for a world of hurt. Okay, so that's the difference between mono, stereo cables, instrument cables, TRS and speaker cables and whatnot. If you've got a question, something you want me to cover in a future video, whether it's about guitar gear, music theory, guitar technique or whatever, then if you go here, fill in that form, send your question in, I'll try and get around to answering it in a future video. If you like this video, please click like down there. If you really enjoyed it, please click subscribe, which is also down there somewhere, and you'll get notified anytime I publish any new videos onto the Fatfish Guitar Studio YouTube channel. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video next time. Bye for now.